enthusiasts. As you know, for years and years and years and years and decades, Rotary has always been geographically located. So we have the Rotary Club of St. Paul and the Rotary Club of St. Croix Falls and the Rotary Club of New Richmond and the Rotary Club of Chanhassen. Some of the new E-clubs are not geographically located. As you heard, we have members in Denver and in Wisconsin and Southwest Minnesota, etc. But instead, the new E-clubs are being surrounding a cause or a reason. And our reason for existing is that we are cultural exchange enthusiasts, especially when it comes to a Rotary youth exchange. Many of the people around the board today have been exchange students with Rotary, and that's actually how we know each other. And so other people are members of this club because they consider the youth exchange program or other Rotary exchange international programs to be great positiveness. Our current president is John Hobday, who is currently, as I said earlier, in Mexico. Good for him. He went to Mexico as an exchange student, just as I went to Sweden as an exchange student. And Chris Ann and Stephanie went to Brazil, etc. Sam went to Italy. But John is often in Mexico and asked me to fill in for him. Chris Ann? We always welcome new members, especially if perhaps your club, if you're a current member of another club and this time frame or this method is better for you, we'd love to have you. But also we don't want to poach from other Rotary clubs. But our goal by the year end is to have 225 members. I think we're at 14 or 15 right now. We're pretty cheap. We're $270 a year. We could also do that at $135 per half year. We'd love to have you as a new member. And I think this concept of a club based on a cause rather than on a geographic area is a new and interesting concept. Next slide, please. Another way you can become involved in this club is become a friend of a club. I think we have 4 or 5 current friends. And what a friend is somebody who belongs to another Rotary club, but wants also to attend these meetings because they like the topic or they want to support the club, or they need an unlimited number of makeup slips. And if you want to become a friend of the club, you can either go to the URL at the bottom of the page, or you can contact any one of us who is a current member. Next slide. Of course, normally we would be supporting Youth Exchange, but right now Youth Exchange is not active globally. The Rotary Board has decided, I think quite correctly, that the Youth Exchange will not be brought up again until next summer, that is summer 2022. So we have decided to work with butterflies and other pollinators in Minnesota or Wisconsin, or for that matter in Denver. And we're going to talk about this at a planning meeting in April. And next week we have Espen Fredrickson.
Oh, that's my fault.
I will send that. I will send a spelling to that. It's an interesting send off. Espen's parents, Chris and Christina, both ironically spelled with a K. Both were born with, given Chris or Christina names spelled with a K by their parents. Then met later on at Gustavus Adolphus. Chris and Christina were students of mine years ago. And I have gone off and promoted Rotary Youth Exchange at the Concordia Language Villages in northern Minnesota for several years. 1 year I was at the Swedish camp, which is called Sjölinden. And 2 boys came up to me at the end of my discussion and said, hey, you know our parents are Chris and Christina. And one of those boys was Espen, and he was an exchange student to Sweden, and his brother's name was Owen, and he was an exchange student with Rotary to Faroe Islands. Espen will be talking about his year in Sweden next week. And next slide, please. And today, of course, East Timor Leste. As you might or may not know, this is in what used to be called or it's still in Indonesia, but East Timor is, you might recall, fought for independence from Indonesia. East Timor is primarily Christian Catholic / as I recall, and the rest of Indonesia is primarily Muslim. And after much, shall we say, unpleasantness, they finally got a country on their own. And we're going to have today's speaker, Rotary Assistant Governor from 5960 and from Barron County Sunrise, and he is going to speak with us about East Timor, precious people in a country in need. Chrisanne, do you want to add some things about this?
I do. Let me just stop sharing my screen here if I can. Ah. Okay, why can't I do it? Well, if you can kick me off, Kirk, that would be awesome. I don't know why I can't seem to get it. Oh, here. Well, anyway, Mark, let me just introduce Mark a bit. Mark came to our meeting as a guest with Sandy, who's on our screen. And he made the comment that he has traveled to over 30 countries. And that, I heard that. And so I followed up with him because at our meeting, he said, oh, I'd love to tell you about my trips. And so I did follow up with Mark and I asked him, because you've been to so many countries, don't tell us about all the countries, but is there a place you've been to that changed you, or that you found it was magical or it was mystical? Can you talk about that? And so that's exactly what Mark is bringing to us today. 30 years ago, Mark was a member of a group study exchange team it's like a 1-month exchange program for adults. It's generally a group of 5 people. There's a leader who's a Rotarian. There are 4 other people that are non-Rotarians, and they visit an area and they speak to Rotary clubs. They're really cultural ambassadors, right?
You are taking away my whole 7-minute speech.
Well, sorry, because I have that role, so that's why
I have to have something to talk about, Chrisanne.
Okay, I'm gonna just keep quiet. But anyway, after that experience, he did join Rotary. And so it's really a pleasure that we get to have you with us today, Mark. Thank you for joining us. And I will now zip it and you can take over.
And I will have the opportunity to share screen here, won't I?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, thanks for having me. And this is pretty unique because on the screen today, I have, we have Deb and Mike and Jim from my club for supporting me. And then there's Marlene. And Marlene is one of the instrumental of this e-club and the pollinator program coming up. She made the Rotary magazine, the worldwide magazine. And Marlene is also, she's being real quiet down there, being muted. Marlene is also the instigator in throwing my name in the hat as an assistant governor for the last 2 years here. So I still owe Marlene, I don't know what I owe her, but she must have saw something in me here, or they were very desperate. So I commend you on this club. I think it's pretty cool. And could always find some past students if you're in need of people. Have those, we've got a past Rotarians from that stayed. We had 5 different exchange students in our home, my wife and I. Two of those were Rotarian, and the other 3 were Sister City Exchange in Rice Lake. But we had numerous adult visits also within our home. So other thing here is you have an unbelievable speaker coordinator here in Chrisanne. As she pursued me to speak and sends me these emails, not just looking for, here you are standing in front of an elephant in Africa or a giraffe. She's getting down and dirty and what's inspired Mark and what changed you as a person. And this has been a great project for me, and it got me really more excited, Chrisanne. And I hope I can portray that today in my little talk here. So Chrisanne says I have an hour and a half. That puts me out to about 6:30. Is that right, Greg? Yeah. Nobody knows my humor except Jim and maybe Sandy. So as Chrisanne said, I was a team member to Manchester, England. Didn't have to learn a different. I just had to learn an accent. could keep our same English. And it was back in 1989. My wife was pregnant, left her at home, and I came back, and she 8.5 weeks early had a child, our only child, and it was soon afterwards at the Rice Lake Rotary Club, which Jim was a member of, and Marlene is still a member of, invited me to join Rotary in 1990. It was in 1996 that we started our Barron County Sunrise Rotary, and Jim was the first president there, and I actually followed Jim as the second president. And so with that, I've done quite a bit of travels in the past through my work, and had the opportunity and was blessed to travel with Edward Jones Investments. And I see Lindy is a CFP. It's a great career. I ended 22 years as a financial advisor, and now in 2017 became a group study exchange team leader. I put in for it and had the privilege to I'm going to be a part of that group study exchange, and now I lost it. And Chris Ann really talked about what a group study exchange was, in that it's really you can't see this yet, can you? Group study exchange goes way back many years. I couldn't, it was funded by the foundation of Rotary, and you could not be a Rotarian, but you needed to be between the ages of 29 and 40, business person. And then the only Rotarian was the team leader. So I said back in 1989, I'd love to be a team leader someday, have that opportunity earlier. And up it came, just past District Governor Jim Hunt wanted to send a team. Now this is pretty much the end of the group study exchange. They've now gone to friendship exchanges, where everyone is a Rotarian, and you really pay your way for transportation. Jim's been on a few of those, and you stay in people's host homes, and it's a great experience, cultural exchange. So the group study exchange really ended here for me and our district. Jim Hunt actually funded it through, he put aside, he wanted to see the last team go, I think. And we ended up in the Northern Territory of Australia. But in doing so, they were really trying to promote and push us to go to East Timor, which is right above Australia. Now, I need to, yes?
Yeah. Are you showing slides? Do you want to show?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not yet.
Okay, sorry.
I will in a second, I hope. There was, here we go. Hang on. And you can't see that, can you?
Not yet.
Okay.
I think you choose the screen you want to show.
Yeah,
and
I got you, but I have 4 screens up that I want to show. So here we go. Talked a little bit about what GSE is, and there were 5 of us. This is actually can you see this now, everybody? Okay, so we flew into Brisbane, and from Brisbane, then went on to Darwin, which was our first home territory. The very next day, they put us on a flight to Dili, which is right above. You can see it's the island above Australia. After that, I'll just kind of finish with this slide. We did come back to Darwin, stayed in that area, did the district conference not too far away in Mariba, and headed this way. Then flew from Darwin to Cairns, worked our way down Townsville, and flew back from Brisbane. So it was a 4-week time frame. there were 9 flights involved, 10 locations, 14 presentations that we did in that 4-week period of time. So with that, that kind of gives you an idea. I would like to show a quick little video clip of Dili, and it's really about East Timor, and I think you might find this informative. And Greg gave a little history, but this goes even deeper. It's a 4.5-minute clip.
Located all the way in the south of Southeast Asia is a country that few have heard of, let alone know much about. East Timor, or Timor Leste, or the Democratic Republic of Timor Leste, is a sovereign state that makes up the eastern portion of the island of Timor, with the western side belonging to Indonesia. However, it hasn't always been this way, and East Timor only gained full independence in 2002. So let's take a brief look at the country's history. We go all the way back 42,000 years ago, when humans first settled in East Timor, coming from the general Southeast Asia region. Then, around 37,000 years later, another wave of migration hit East Timor from the Melanesia region. Then came a third wave of migration from the South China and North Indochina region. So in the end, the inhabitants of East Timor were a diverse mix from the Eastern Hemisphere. But then, colonialism. The first Europeans to arrive on the island of Timor were the Portuguese in the early 1500s, and they established control over the land. In 1613, the Dutch turned up, arriving in Kupang on the western half of the island. The Dutch and the Portuguese both wanted control over the island, and they fought over the territory until the 1859 Treaty of Lisbon officially granted the Portuguese the eastern half of the island, duly named Portuguese Timor, and the Dutch the western half of the island, named, you guessed it, Dutch Timor. However, the two nations still weren't happy with each other's presence, and a definitive border was finally set in 1914. In 1975, Portugal decided it was done with Portuguese Timor, and a conflict broke out amongst East Timorese political parties. However, in December of that year, Indonesia invaded East Timor and declared it as its 27th province. However, the invasion did not come peacefully, and has come to be known as the East Timor Genocide, as the East Timorese resisted Indonesian rule, resulting in the deaths of around 200,000 people. The violence had continued throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, with many massacres taking place in the capital of Dili. The Santa Cruz massacre in 1991 was seen as a rallying point for independence by the East Timorese, as Indonesian troops slaughtered 250 unarmed civilians in a graveyard in Dili, an attack widely condemned throughout the world. In 1999, the East Timorese had their independence referendum, with a question asking if the public accepted plans for East Timor to gain special autonomy but still remain part of Indonesia, similar to how Hong Kong and Macau sit with China. However, an overwhelming majority voted to reject the proposal and accept independence, but the voting didn't come without its own wave of violence, as anti-independence militants attacked civilians and violence spread throughout the country, leading to 1,400 deaths. However, East Timor had voted, and they finally gained independence in May of 2002. As you can see, Asia's newest country has a long history, and a tough one at that. But what is East Timor like today? Due to its colonial past, Portuguese is one of the 2 official languages of East Timor, the other being Tetum. However, Portuguese fluency is limited, and there are many different regional languages used across East Timor, with Tetum acting as the lingua franca. Indonesian and English are considered as working languages. However, there is resistance by some to learning and using both Indonesian and Portuguese, due to the negative connotations some of the population associates with the 2 countries. East Timor is still a fairly poor country, still suffering from the effects of its battle for independence with Indonesia, with a lot of infrastructure remaining damaged. The economy is largely dependent on exporting commodities, mainly oil, gas, and coffee, with the International Monetary Fund labelling East Timor as the most oil-dependent country in the world. On top of this, private sector development has been limited. However, things have improved for East Timor, with illiteracy and poverty declining, and surplus income from oil and gas has led to the Timor Leste Petroleum Fund, which has accumulated around $16 billion and demonstrates the government's awareness to save its natural resource wealth for the future. However, East Timor still has a lot of work to do. Poverty rates sit at around 40%, and GDP per capita is amongst the lowest in the world. GDP growth was around 10% from 2007 to 2011, but has slowed more recently. To continue in its development, East Timor must look to develop its private sector, starting with the basics, such as introducing patent laws to promote innovation and entrepreneurship. Then the country will have a more stable platform from which to grow.
So, just thought that might be a little informative to see what the country's gone through in the last, well, in this case, they just became their own independent country since 2002. But I don't know if you caught that. There are cultural remains on the east side of the island that go back, dated 42,000 years. I don't know how they can come up with that. That's a long time ago. So you would think a country of that age would be more responsible, but in that time when they were trying to become independent and the deaths occur, actually in 99, again in up till there were many people that were killed, men, women. There were like 200,000 people in that period of time. They talked about only the 200 and some in that one, in what was it, 2002, or right before that. Dili itself is a population of 222,000. When we arrived in Dili, I'm just going to share some pics as we go here. And are we seeing this?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I lost everybody here on the side. There we go. I'd rather see you. You can still see it, okay? Okay, thank you. When I was a team member in England, and I think of all the different pictures, and people know me for taking a lot of stupid pictures on my camera, on my phone, and I find out that nobody ever wants to look at my pictures. So Chris Ann has inspired me here to maybe pick those pictures out even more so. But I tried as a team leader to really try to focus on not necessarily here I am standing next to this statue or here I am with my buddy, but more so, what's the life in the country? This was our first stop, and this gentleman in the picture, I'm going to talk a little bit later, but his name was Steve Judson. And Steve Judson was the Rotarian president at the time of the Dili Club, the only club in Timor. And he was in charge for the 2 days. He was a retired gentleman who moved to Timor, lived in a small apartment, and he was there to help these people in a time of need. And we stopped, first of all, we stopped at the nearest Walmart, and you can tell their Walmarts aren't quite as nice as our Walmarts. This is Steve, and we grabbed something to drink on the way. I might add that I was sicker than a dog. I had some kind of a flu. They put me in the back of this van, and for the 2 days that I was there, my head was so congested, and the flights and the small planes, it was a miserable time for me. I didn't go through COVID, but I can imagine it was probably similar. In our trek up along the coast, you're going to see a lot of devastation that still remains. This is in 2017, April of 2017. And I think the first instinct, the first thoughts that Steve had when he took us out on this journey was to capture some of this and to give us that initial blow, what we're really seeing in a third world country. We did not see the inside of really any homes. The homes, there are a few fairly nice homes compared to some of the shacks that we did see. As I'm building my home in Shell Lake, it really reminds me now of how blessed and how fortunate we are here in Wisconsin and Minnesota, that this entryway to someone's home isn't what we would expect here in our homes. While we're doing this little trek, I'd have each of you put on your sandals, forget about where you're at right now on a Wednesday afternoon, and think about living in this area. These are actual homes right on the water. Beautiful, beautiful view. It'd be like looking out Lake Desert or Shell Lake and watching that sunrise. And these are their pets and food down the road. And look at this, and I'd ask you what's wrong in this picture. It's a gal dressed fairly nicely, standing there looking at her phone. Not necessarily the case inside the house. The view is gorgeous though. This is just a few feet from that place. And one of the gentlemen that lived there could not speak English, but here he is catching the fish in the meal for the day. You might see in a lot of the pictures here, they all tend to have smiles. I'm smiling. Not into the occupation this gentleman has, is just I guess we're used to the smiles as we pose for pictures. Fishing boat, nothing like the pontoons that we might use here in our area. Trying to keep the animals in right up to the house, probably walking right through the house. This is one of my favorite pictures. I don't know why. I do have it blown up, and I have it. I put it on canvas, and actually, I'm looking to put it on canvas in my new home as I put a collage of different pictures of where I've been. I don't know why I like this picture, but it's not portraying any type of wealth, that's for sure. Transportation, they do have vehicles, limited, a lot of scooters, motorcycles. Our first stop with a lot of people was an orphanage. Children under the age of 5 in Timor are 50% of them have issues with malnutrition and growth. The smiles, though, they don't know any different. They don't know the living conditions they have. It actually is very nice at the orphanage compared to many of their individual homes, though they don't have parents. This is their living facility. All of the Timorese are a little smaller in stature. Cute gal, couldn't help but get a smile out of her. Notice the sweat. It was so hot. November through March in Timor is known as the hungry days, or the hungry months, hungry season. Though these children actually have it nice at the orphanage. This is the other picture that I'm going to blow up someday. Smiles on their faces, leaving the orphanage. I felt bad here. this location, you notice there's not a lot of goods hanging or being made there. They didn't have a lot, though everybody bought something. I felt bad afterwards. I didn't buy enough. We think about hauling things in our side-by-sides and our four-wheelers, not in Timor. This is here's where they would actually take the salt water. They had it set up where the sea salt would come into these areas, and they would dry it out in the summer months and create their own salt. I'm going to go past. I'll just give you a quick little glimpse. This is side street city. Very religious country. This is a 65-foot statue of Jesus looking out over the city. Timor's trying to bring tourism to the beautiful country. It's known for its snorkeling and scuba diving area. It's just gorgeous, but they need the infrastructure to really bring that up to speed. I mentioned it's a city of 220-some thousand. There aren't many roads that leave and go out of Dili. Recently here, a couple years ago, the North St. Paul Maplewood Oakdale Rotary Club helped build a road after Graciana and the Australia team was here in Minnesota, Wisconsin. They went back and they completed a road. I haven't heard if that road was damaged recently here in the last 2 weeks ago. The flooding was so bad in Timor. It took a lot of homes and damage with the water. This is really where I think it changed my thoughts here, Chris Ann, on life and what we should be looking for as individuals. This is the entrance to Souls 24/7, and Souls is an organization that was started in Cambodia back in around 2000. They came to Timor in 2005, 2006. But with all the parents, some of the parents, the kids were abandoned. They had to grow up on their own. Some were adopted, some weren't. They didn't have their parents to teach them specific things. Souls really is meant for young youths between the ages of 16 to 29. And they're there to teach them languages, leadership skills, we first got there, of course, they're waiting for us, and didn't look like it was actually excellent food. This is one thing I think we should all have. We should all have, and I'd love to have this made up and sell these around here if we think about it. All the things going on in the recent times, why can't we just think of these things as for all of us? This is our computer center. I can't imagine. Computers dropped off. They try to get them going. They're trying to get up to speed in their technology. I like to focus on some of the signs: education of life, believing in yourself. I think, can I get that out of there? Can't blow these up. I wanted to be able to blow these up. teaching a lot of different things. Things that I think we need to instill in our younger generation. By the way, this is a Souls was set up. They are set here for 500 students at a time. We were there during Easter break, and in that time, there were only maybe about 30 that were present, because it was the 2 days we were there, it was break time for Easter. But usually there's about 500, and you'll see the dormitory here in a minute. Respect yourself. Fly as high as possible to reach the destiny. Mistakes are proof that you're trying. Educate, not judge. Here's the dormitories.
So this kind of firewood, we're going to take it from the jungle. Okay. We get some of the local materials.
Sure. 250 on in each building.
Yes.
250.
Very basic.
Those that might have been around for a while that saw the Australian exchange, this is Graciana, who then left a few days later, came to Minnesota and Wisconsin. So she was the first time away from, and her first time heading to the United States. When I got back, our team looked and talked about what could we do as a project. It's still on the burner for me. And this is what I wanted to really do something for Souls. This is the bathing area. Here's your toilets, just squatting over a latrine area. But the water really here, all they would do is open those. The cover here is trying to keep the water clean from any debris. They'd use the bucket. Here's the toothpaste and the shampoo. So just imagine 250 people in each side sleeping. Kitchen area, again, look at the smiles. Just happy to see Americans taking pride in their area. Could actually use a power washer here in this, couldn't they? Actual ovens where they would cook off of, stoves. Here again, here's the inside of the dormitory.
This is the boys' dorm.
Thank you very much.
Now, when I was in contact with Steve Judson, who took us around for 2 days, and it was we talked for a couple months there. It was December of 2017. We were getting close to doing a project together, and he wanted more of they wanted structures built, which is not conducive to a Rotary project. For a building, wanted little buildings along the side that they could they could get out, souls could get out there and have these mini classes being done when they could not get into Dilley. My conversation with Steve was 5-6 times via Facebook. We did a couple video sessions, and he went on vacation at the end, right after Christmas. He went north. I'm not sure what island. He said, Mark, I'm a little under the weather. If you don't mind, can we talk when I get back? He died January 1st of 2018, the age of 72. He looked like he was 60. Dengue. Is it dengue? Anybody familiar with that? Dengue fever?
Yeah, dengue fever.
Dengue fever.
Yeah. Yes.
Mosquito, could be a mosquito bite, could be some kind of he ended up passing away. So I have been in contact with Graciana, looking for the next project. And when you do a project within Rotary, Marlene's been instrumental and has done many, I'm sure, in the past, and been a part of them, and her inoculation. She's been on Polio Plus trips. The programs, though, when you do a grant for a international grant, they've increased it a little bit. They want more of they want input from the country or from where it's at. So you need a sponsoring club. And my hope is that the Dilley Club, if I pursue something here in the future, that the Dilley Club would accept it there. But you really need to have them share with you what they want. It's not what we see from the outside. They didn't want new showers or toilets. They wanted something totally different. They could live with those. So what we tend to see as needs for them doesn't necessarily mean what they're focused on right now. These scarves are made all the time and given as gifts. I think that the pictures that I wanted to take after are right here. The exchange of conversation with the teammates. They could have talked for days, I think. We didn't have that much time. One gentleman, I'm not sure which one it was, asked John, why are you here? We don't need you. We can do this on our own. That was the only negative thought that came out of one of these students. The rest were all just pleased to be able to talk to us. That's time.
So, Mark, I need to cut in here because, yep,
Okay.
you heard the gong here in the background.
Yep.
And that's my thing. We'll do a brief Q&A. Does anybody have any questions?
This was a hospital.
I can't see people. I do have a question, Mark, if I may. In the very beginning in your video about East Timor, they talked about the Melanesians, and the Indonesians coming in as separate waves into the country. Have they all mingled together now, or are they quite separate? Do we have issues of racism there between those separate groups, just like we're talking about here in Minneapolis?
You know, I can't believe they have that issue of racism. There are like 40 different dialogues, though, dialects, I should say, and different languages. So you can be 20 miles away and they're going to speak something different. I can't believe, I can't answer that question, Greg. That's a great question.
Okay. And Sandy has asked, what was Graciana's reaction to come to the U.S. and seeing how we live?
Well, I'm sure what what a mind-blowing event it was for her. I've not kept in touch with her. I need to get back in touch with her. I did ask her the question, do you ever see yourself moving from here? She says, no. She's had a baby since she's been here, a second child. And she just feels that she owes it to her people, that she would stay there and help educate them and try to promote entrepreneurship. And though she hasn't had the education, she has much more than a lot of them.
How about other people? Do we have any further Q&A questions? If not, I have one more. Mark, did you ever make it to a coffee plantation or wherever it is that they grow coffee?
We did not make it there.
Okay.
Jim Stoll's been to a plantation though on one of his trips, I believe.
In East Timor?
No, he was on another. I don't know where that was, Jim. Nicaragua? Yeah.
Okay. Any further questions from the group? Well, Mark, thank you very much. I'm sorry, Mark, you're about to say.
Just one last thing. This has really opened my eyes, and our small club has recently we did our first rather large grant this last year, where we did one that raised $25,000 to a local community, Barron. So we're a county club to see the effects that the foundation can do. I guess, Chris Ann, what have I learned from this and seeing all this? It took me many years to realize what the foundation really does within Rotary, and to see the matching dollars. We had people in our club that said, hey, how can you mean if I put in $500, it's worth 1,000? Yes. That's the neat part, and all the different projects that are out there. What I've really turned this into is a way of changing my attitude and making the Rotary Foundation really the charity of my choice going forward. And hopeful that maybe you as a club can do that also. Make yourselves an E-Ray. That's every Rotarian every year. It's a matter of $25 a quarter. It's $100 a year, and every member can be a part of the foundation.
Mark, I'm happy to be able to tell you that I think our club has heard the message. As I recall, every member of our club has made a donation to the foundation in the past
Great.
year, and I think we have a very high percentage of club members who are Paul Harris Fellows. So we've done we've done some. That was last year. This year might be a little more of a challenge for us, but we're going to see what we're going to do.
Perfect.
Comment?
Yes, please, Deborah.
Mark, thank you for presenting, and thank you for agreeing to let us join you. And thank you to this E-Club for letting the guests be here today. Mark, I've already sent you a text. I'm hoping that maybe you could present this to our group again in Barron County. That would be wonderful.
When you're desperate.
No, we're not desperate. I think that this would be exactly appropriate. I've texted you already about it.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Deborah, thank you for your very nice words. Just know that this meeting is open every Wednesday afternoon to everybody. We are, especially Rotarians, we're always happy to have people join us. Often we have somebody who has traveled someplace and tells a lot about where they went or what they, the effect that place had upon them. Mark, clearly you've been affected by East Timor. I would say that East Timor is a place that is forgotten by a lot of Americans that have never even heard of by a lot of Americans. It's a fascinating place. I've heard the reports about East Timor in the BBC, but I've never seen it before. So it was very exciting for me to be able to see your pictures and your videos. Thank you so much. That was a great deal. Next week, we're going to have Espen Fredrickson who will speak with us. Espen earlier was his parents were two of my former students, and he was an exchange student to Sweden. He having preceded him by about 40 years. I know he had a great time. I believe he got in touch with my Swedish brother while he was there. It was kind of cool. And we end every meeting with the same way. We end with a 4-way test, and we try. These are what the idioms or the the ideologies that we try to apply not just to Rotary, but to our lives. So this is the 4-way test of the things we'd like, we think, we say and do. I would ask everyone to unmute themselves and say along with us. 1, is it the truth?
Truth.
2, is it
fair
fair
to
to
all
all concerned? 3, will it build
goodwill
goodwill
and
and
friendships?
better friendships? 4, will
Will
it be beneficial to all concerned? So thank you all for joining us. We've gone a little
Thank
bit
you.
over. I appreciate it very
Thank
much.
you.